All right, today is Sunday, March 30th, and this is going to be pretty much wrapping up the first quarter of the year. And we're going to start off with the Euro USD and check out some price action since last week. Got a little bit of a bounce here, but we're going to take a look at the top three FX pairs that I always keep an eye on, which is Euro USD, pound dollar, and dollar yen. Then we're also going to take a look at the some of the things I'm looking at in the stock market. I have puts on an ETF that's doing pretty well right now, and also um, another stock that I've been watching, which is Nvidia, which has been pretty interesting. But I'm going to just do a quick stint on those. I'm just going to get into the Euro USD right now. So I'm still holding short on the Euro USD. My average price really is just right below 1.09, and I'm still holding those because I'm still looking for us to visit the main pivot point, which the yearly pivot point, which is around 1.0630 or 35, somewhere in this area. And I'll show you right now one of the areas of resistance. If I pull up the pivot points here, you'll see R1 was still respected, and we had a bounce right at that median level. I mean, it went down below it just a little bit, but slightly started recovering. And I kind of expected this. I figured that once we got below 1.0790, I thought we were going to probably test this area, this median, and then kind of stay and stag around this area. But obviously, we found some support there and continued higher. Now, so far, I like the way that it played out. You can see, yeah, we had a move to the downside, and we had a rebound that left a long wick. But we also left, not a huge wick, but we left a somewhat wick up on the top, which showed me there was, a lot of resistance from getting over 1.0840. Actually, close to 1.0850 is where I want to see us stay below. Now, right now, if I really put on the intermediate levels on the pivot points, just add those right now. You can see there is an area of, an area of potential resistance all the way up at 1.860. I don't think we'll get up there, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do. We'll make another move up, right? And then I want to see if we do make another move up. I want to see another long wick to show us that there's some weakness, right? And that we're likely to continue to the downside after this little rebound here. If we start trading above 1.0860, then for me that might be a little cause of concern, since my positions are still okay, but we want to ideally stay below 1.09, right? We don't want to see a rebound all the way up here, because then that runs a risk of us taking this previous resistance out, right? And I'm sure there's still a lot of people holding short around this area, right? Not even just because the R1 or resistance 1 on the pivot points, but if I just, if I'm looking this from a pure technical support and resistance standpoint, I could just place this area right here, right, without the pivots, and say, okay, there was a previous resistance here, I'm going to go short here. So I'm sure you have some short holders around here, some people that went short around here. So this area is going to be, in my opinion, very important for us to stay below, again, 1.09. So we want to stay below that. But I think for now we're okay. This is fine to see a rebound, but we want to see, we don't mind another move up. But again, we want to see a continued long upper wicks that shows rejection and weakness, and then potentially continue our move to the downside, which my initial target here is at the pivot, like I said before, 1.063, 630. But if I'm looking at this from a chart pattern perspective, these two trend lines diverge away, and that usually tells me that this has the potential to go a lot lower, possibly 1.04 or 1.03. And if I put the medians back on, or the pivot points, you can see there is a median level like right around, this looks like 1.0350, somewhere in this zone. So I want to see, before we get, start talking about that, we want to see some weakness coming in and protect that I would say 1.0860 area. We need to protect that, and then we start trading back above or at 1.09. Then that might be a little cause of concern, and then would have to evaluate what I want to do with my positions, if I want to cut them, or if I want to cut half, or just completely cut the whole position. And it all depends on how the price action is performing, and how, the volatility and the aggressiveness of the move, right? So we'll have to wait and see on this one. But so far, I'm staying short on this, and I want to see how the Euro USD develops going forward, and see what happens during this week, which we're going to have, NFP, which is all the way on Friday, but we do have the tariffs going into effect. I think it's on Wednesday, and we still have a lot of economic data coming out. I think starting on Tuesday and Monday, I don't think there's anything, but starting on Tuesday all the way through Friday, we do have a lot of economic data coming out that could really move this market. So that's Euro USD, and not much has changed since the last video I made last week, but we did get this rebound. And again, we want to stay and protect 1.09, ideally stay below 1.0860, and see how we want to go from there. Pound dollar, I went short. Don't remember exactly what it was. I think it's 29.13 or 29.20. Would have to check my positions, but this is another expanding broadening pattern, and I want to stay below 1.03. That's ideal for me to stay below here, because if we start trying to make another high, then this is going to be, in my opinion, it's just no good. I would have to reevaluate what area I would look to if I want to take any other opportunity to go short. But right now, I'm going to stay short on the pound dollar. If I pull up the pivot points, you can see that median area is still holding some resistance here. We tried on Thursday, we rallied up, tried to get above it, but of course we closed below, and then on Friday we ended up with a small red candle, small loss on the daily chart. So my ideal target would be 1.275, maybe a little lower than that. But yeah, on the pound dollar, it doesn't look. I want to see we need to stay below 1.03 for me to wanting to really stay and be convinced of this trade playing out. So that's pretty much same, just like Euro USD. This is more of like a wait and see of what we're going to get moving forward. Moving on to the dollar yen. This is also an opposite of what we were just discussing, of the broadening patterns rising. This one's descending, and this is more of a bullish move. Now, we started all the way down here. I think it was 2 videos ago. I may have talked about, like, spotted this broadening pattern, said we're going to move up a lot higher, and which we started doing but on Friday, we got this big red candle here, but I still think this is bullish. I as long as it protects, I would say 147.80, or even 148.40, maybe even 49. I still think this trade is still good. I'm not involved in it, but I think if you're long from these areas here, I think it's still good. And then, of course, we use the measurements of calculating where we want to get out if we're long on the broadening pattern. So what we do is just take the Fibonacci area from the very top and measure the pattern all the way to the bottom. We didn't get all the way up to the 40%, which is 151.472. Well, we did pull back, and then we found a little bit of support here at that 27% Fibonacci area, which is about 149,886. So it's curious. We're going to watch this one. I'm curious to see how this one develops, if we're going to bounce back up. And then the ideal target, or the conservative target, I should say, is the 40%, 150, 147. And ideally, we want 50% of this move to complete around the 50%, 152.70. So that's one to watch. And I will be watching this one to see how this one develops. So that's the dollar yen. Still, the formation of the pattern is still bullish, but we want to, I would say, stay above 149 just to have some conviction, and then finish up that 50% retracement. So that's going to pretty much do it for the FX pairs. If you want to swing over to the ETFs, what I'm watching, let's take a look. QQQE do have a position on the short side, idea options, and the last 2 weeks was suffered a little bit of drawdown, right? Because we had this little bounce up the week prior to last week, and I figured we're either going to continue lower aggressively, or we may try to fill this gap up here, and that's exactly what we did. We filled this gap, but once we did that, the market sold off aggressively. NASDAQ sold off pretty hard. So this one, so far, looks good. I would like to see a move much lower, let's say about 83.50 or $83 even, to get out of this trade. But of course, the long perspective on this is you see this is more like a wedge pattern and a breakdown out of that. So I'm still going to hold on to see. I feel like the market could still continue to sell off this week and get hammered just like it did on Friday. So we'll have to watch this one, or I'm watching this one, I should say. And I'm also keeping an eye on Nvidia. Nvidia is an interesting one. I know a lot of people are watching Nvidia, and it's a great company, but the market as a whole hasn't been really, liking too many of the tariffs, a lot of negative economic news, economic slowdown. So this one could still continue lower. I could see Nvidia going sub 100, maybe into the 90s or 80s. And then from there, it might be an interesting buy. But I would have to take a look to see if if this is going to get aggressive and start trading much lower than that. But, if I zoom out, you could see that overall, this is a huge uptrend, right? It's an uptrend until it's not an uptrend. So you have to really take a look at the data and take a look at the price action and the technical analysis to see, what levels you really want to watch for. Or ideally, you want to look at what I use is the MACD to see if there's any kind of trend continuation divergence that gives any other signal of us making a reversal or a slowdown in selling momentum. So, but for now, it looks bearish, but we don't know how bearish. I would look for about 80 or to see if we get a slowdown, maybe in the 90s for another bullish run. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. And that's pretty much it. I mean, stock market, NASDAQ, been getting hammered the last couple of weeks overall, but we'll have to see what's going forward. It should be interesting, especially with tariffs going in and, the negative economic data that's been coming out. It's not too pretty. So we're going to have to really keep an eye on what the market intends to do. So that's pretty much it for this week's analysis. I'm going to keep an eye on my main position, which is the Euro USD. And I really would like to stay below 1.09 for us to continue lower and see the bears kind of take over this one before NFP. And again, I expect the volatility to pick up this week with a lot of economic data coming out. So we'll have to wait and see. So that's going to do it for this week's analysis. As always, we'll see you next week. So good luck and trade safe.